What's one goal that you have that you would do almost anything in your power to try to achieve? I remember when I first started taking my running seriously and decided to do a road marathon, learning about the Boston Marathon and trying to qualify for that race was such a big goal of mine. I knew that if I was able to achieve that standard, I would feel really, really proud of myself, and I would know that I had done something that 99% of runners will never achieve. But the ones who really focus on the sport, really work hard for months and sometimes years on end and do the right things can get to that level. The Boston Marathon is often called the People's Olympics because of what an accomplishment it is to qualify to run it. A lot of my athletes are really driven by that goal, by chasing the Boston qualifying time. And today on the Knighton Runs podcast, I'm going to talk with Josh Berube. Josh is one of my athletes who reached out to me late last year in 2022 with this very goal in mind. He was a really, really talented middle distance runner and 5K runner in high school. But now in his 30s, he'd taken quite a bit of time off from running and was definitely not in that kind of shape anymore. As he's getting back into running via cycling and triathlon type events, the marathon bug bit him and he got excited about getting back to his running potential again. I've been working with Josh for over about 6 months now, and last April he ran the Eugene Marathon, his first marathon. He ran 2:59 in his first marathon. It was amazing. He accomplished his goal. He broke 3. He qualified for Boston, but his journey to get there was anything but easy. Josh struggled with injury, self-doubt, uncertainty if this goal was going to be possible at all. But when he showed up on race day, he had a plan, he had experience, he had the drive and some talent to rely on, and he pulled it off. On this episode of the Knighton Runs podcast, I'll be interviewing Josh. You're going to hear all about his story, BQing, and I hope this inspires you as you work towards your big goal. Let's get into it. Today's episode of the Knighton Runs podcast is brought to you by the Knighton Runs training group on Patreon. And I'm really excited to now be able to offer a 7-day free trial for anyone who would like to sign up and get a copy of the training plans that I've built for free. The community is really based for people who want to download the plans and get support along the journey. So when you sign up, you can find, whether it's a half marathon plan or a speed development plan or marathon plan or 5K plan or just a base building plan. You can find the one that's perfect for you right now, but you can also ask questions of me and the community as you go through each day of the process. If you need to reschedule a run or want to fit in a race or aren't sure how to do a workout or, what happens if you miss a run? How do you adjust? You can get all those questions answered by me, the person who wrote the plans, and the community who's following them. Go to patreon.com/KnightonRuns and you're going to find great stuff there. 7-day free trial. If you want to just download the training plans and follow them on your own, you can leave the group. But if you want to continue to get support, you can stay in there, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. I want to give a shout out to James, Jay, and Hyder, who all joined the training group within the past week. Hope you all found some good content in there to get you started, and please reach out in the community at any time if you need any support with your running. We're here to help. All right, so without further ado, let's talk with Josh. Knighton Lion, and now a Boston Qualifier. Josh, welcome to the show.
Hey, it's great to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing good. Excited to talk to you about what you just accomplished at the Eugene Marathon.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was an experience I wasn't expecting, that's for sure.
Yeah. So this was Josh's first marathon, and I think it really, the way you did it, you kind of outperformed both of our expectations. You kind of hit your goals and went beyond that. For those who don't know you, Josh, would you give an introduction to yourself? Tell us a bit about who you are, your background, and what you do.
Yeah. So my name's Josh Berube. I grew up in Fall River, Massachusetts. I live in Tiverton, Rhode Island now. Never ran a day before high school. I was a hockey player. I played a summer league with some friends going into high school and realized I needed some cardio. And I was at freshman orientation. Cross country coach shows up with this undefeated jacket and state title, this, that, and the other thing. I was like, that looks fun. And so I went out for the team and kind of got hooked on running and never looked back. I never played hockey again after that. I was terrible when I started. I looked like an accident victim. My parents actually told me later on in high school that they were thinking of making me quit because I was coming home limping every day and it just wasn't pretty. And then I just got better and better. I ended up making varsity on indoor track. And then I lettered every season after that and found that I was actually a pretty good middle distance runner, mile, 800,000. And then I did that for 4 years. I was pretty competitive in all my races, and we won 4 consecutive state vocational titles while I was on the cross country team, which was really cool. I won my junior and my sophomore year. I won the state voc title and broke the course record my senior year, which was really cool. Set a couple school records in the 1,000 and the mile. And then I actually got a really bad ankle injury about halfway through my senior year. Ended up finishing out running, but had to have surgery that summer. Gave up going to a smaller Division I school with a partial scholarship just because I couldn't afford to go there without the scholarship money. Went to Bridgewater State. Tried running there, my indoor track, my freshman year, re-injured my ankle, had to have another surgery, and basically kind of gave up on running at that point. Lance Armstrong was like in the height of his Tour de France run, and I got into cycling and raced, and that bug just really bit me too. And it wasn't as hard on my ankle as running was, and I had a lot of fun doing that for 3 or 4 seasons. And then life happened. I graduated college, had to have a job. I stopped running. I got into the fire service, which is the greatest job ever. I love it. But I also got lazy. I was up to about 260 pounds in 2014. Yeah, 2014. And then my dad passed away of cancer. And it was kind of like a kick in the butt that I should probably get healthy and take better care of myself and whatnot. So I started cycling again. Running wasn't an option at that weight. It hurt. Even cycling hurt, but it wasn't an impact at least. And that just kept kind of snowballing. I got involved with a charity organization called the Brotherhood Ride that raises money for the families of first responders who are killed in the line of duty. They have a Southern New England chapter, and we raise money all year, and then we ride to each affected community. So if there are 15 line of duty deaths in Mass, Rhode Island, and Connecticut, we ride to each one and donate money to the families and just let them know that they haven't been forgotten and that there are people out there that will remember them. And so that kind of gave me motivation to cycle and train. I was doing 3,000 to 4,000 miles a year on the bike. And then in 2021, I was invited to go down the original chapter of the Brotherhood Ride was doing a 9/11 anniversary ride, and they rode from Naples, Florida to Ground Zero. So I was invited to go with them. There was 40 riders that we did. It took us 22 days, 1,700 miles. And it was like one of the most incredible experiences of my life. And I met some people on that ride that I've become incredibly good friends with. And one of them talked on a night of drinking, talked a few of us into doing an Ironman. So a half Ironman. So we all signed up for it. And I instantly had regret the next couple of days, and I knew I had to start running again. So I started running again seriously in January of 22. So I'm looking at about 18 months now that I've been running. And so I had a couple months under me. I did a half marathon as a tune-up. The Ironman was in June, so I did a half marathon in April in Newport, and I went like an hour 23, which was way faster than I thought I could go. Just kind of ran, didn't really have a plan, and that kind of got the thought going in my head that maybe the longer distance stuff might be suitable to me now that I'm older and whatnot. And then I did the half Ironman, and I really exceeded my expectations there. I did it in about 4 hours and 48 minutes, and I managed to run a 1:29 half marathon after a 56-mile bike and a 1.25 mile swim. So after that, that was like, all right, I'm doing a marathon. I can do it. If I can run a 1:29 coming off at starting at hour 3 of a 4.5+ hour day, I think I can do a marathon. And obviously Boston being in the backyard was the end goal. I didn't want to do a charity number. I wanted to qualify. So, and that first marathon was supposed to be Marine Corps last year, and I tore my meniscus, at a minor tear in August while I was training for it, and had to defer. And then that's when I think once I started getting running again after physical therapy is when I found you, and we started working together in early October, I think. And that brings us to kind of the run up to Eugene.
Yeah. So that's awesome. How many years between kind of your college running to 2022 when you picked running back up? How many years off what do you think you were?
10, probably about 13, 14 years.
Wow. And it sounds like you were active through some of that with cycling, but the time.
Yeah. The last, probably the last. So 2014 till now, a lot of cycling till I started training for the marathon. I kind of really cut back on the cycling after that. But I was doing like a light year would be 1,500, 2,000 miles. A heavy, the year I did the Florida ride to New York, that was like I did just over 5,000 miles on the bike that year. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of translation, I think, between the bike and the run, that I find that the bike translates to the run better than the run translates to the bike. Like I just did my first hard ride in a long time this week, and I felt great on the flats, but I definitely feel like I was lacking my hill climbing power, but I still can put a decent pace down on the bike. Yeah.
So, it was awesome. You came into this marathon training with a lot of talent in running, but it had been, like you said, over a decade since you'd really been at it. But kind of like me, I don't know how many folks know this, but I was a pretty big cyclist before I got into running as well, and found that it definitely helped as I started getting into marathoning as well. But you really had to build up like your mileage. I remember when we first started working together, even a 8-mile run seemed kind of far.
Yeah, that was definitely a long run for me.
And we never really got it that high. Yeah.
I think the longest run I did in the Ironman training was a 10-mile run. That was as long as they got.
Yeah. So, I mean, what was it about the marathon distance, I guess, that made you want to go after it? There's a lot of appeal for that event, but it's very different than the types of things you're doing before.
I think two things. One, I hate swimming. Like, as much as I'd love to do a full Ironman, I hate swimming. I hate the training. Living in the Northeast, it means swimming through the winter in a pool, and it's just terrible. And I wanted another challenge. And to be honest with you, it was less the distance and it was more Boston. Growing up, like being a fan of the marathon, especially in high school when I was like very into running. I mean, we'd go up and watch it. Massachusetts, a holiday. We'd go up and watch it every year. And I wanted to do Boston, I think. And that was and to qualify was very important to me, especially after what I saw I could do training for the Ironman. I really felt like I could qualify and not do it on a charity number. Not that there's anything wrong doing it on a charity number, but I just think there's something to be said to be able to say that you qualify. You ran Boston and you qualified for Boston.
Totally. That was kind of my story as well. I wanted to that goal was out there, and I knew that some people were capable of doing it, and I wanted that to be me as well.
Yeah.
It's an awesome goal to kind of chase when you're, well, for you, kind of first getting into marathoning, and for many people, something they need to work towards for years. Can be a goal for them. I remember when you first reached out to me for coaching, you told me you had signed up for Eugene. You told me you wanted to be cute. You said, I want to break 3 in my first marathon. And I was like, well, okay, that's an ambitious goal. But then you told me sort of some of your PRs from when you were younger. And I was like, all right, well, Josh definitely has some talent here. Obviously the marathon is not middle distance running. It's not even 5K cross country, but clearly you have some speed. So if we can, get you able to handle the distance, get the long runs in, I have no worry at all about your speed. So I know from my perspective, trying to train you up for Eugene, I was just thinking, like, all we need Josh to do is get him able to run long runs, get his mileage up as high as we safely can, and see what happens. Why did you pick Eugene as your BQ attempt race? And, why did you decide? Plenty of people go about training alone, but why did you decide to reach out to me for support with this journey?
So Eugene was supposed to be my backup BQ. Marine Corps was going to be my first attempt, because that's a Boston Qualifier. And I went at that alone. And ironically enough, I have a college degree in phys ed with a concentration in coaching, but I am terrible at coaching myself. I need the accountability of having a coach. And I think I learned that when I was training for Marine Corps, even though the injury wasn't due to poor training. It was just, I wasn't holding myself accountable. And I don't think I would have done well. I think I would have finished Marine Corps, but I don't think I would have done what I did in Eugene at Marine Corps. So I hurt my knee, and I think two things crossed my mind. One, I need to be held accountable, because I used a coach for the half Ironman, and it worked really well for me. And I could see the difference in the build up to Marine Corps before I hurt myself. And two, I was coming off an injury that I was lucky I didn't need surgery for. Physical therapy helped. And I was afraid of rushing back too quickly, or trying to pile on the miles too quickly, the speed too quickly. And I felt that working with a coach who was knowledgeable would give me a sounding board I could sound off, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling. Should I just push through this, or should I take a day off, kind of thing? And I think and then I started looking for coaches, and ideally I was looking for someone virtual, obviously, because that's really the only way that works for me. But I like the idea of finding someone that was local to my area to hopefully maybe meet up for a race or a workout or connect to a community. Because that's one thing I loved about cycling, is I had like my group of people that I rode with once or twice a week. We'd meet up, and I like that community thing. So I was also looking for that too.
Nice. Yeah. When it came to actually training for Eugene, how was the experience? How'd the build-up go? Were there any challenges along the way?
Oh God. So it was going great until February 8th, I think was the date. It's stuck in my head. I had a great 5K in Boston as a tune-up in Cambridge, that Super Sunday 5K on Super Bowl Sunday, where I actually broke my high school PR in the 5K. And then 3 days later, out on a train and run, crossing the road, and didn't see it. And I came heel down on a rock and really badly sprained the ankle that I injured in high school. I've had a couple surgeries on, and I was about 2.5 miles from my house. I didn't have my cell phone, and running home was the only option. I had adrenaline, so it really I made it home fine. And then instantly when I got home and I saw my ankle, I knew I was not in good shape. Then that led into 4 weeks of no running, basically in the heart of what would have been the best training for the distance portion of our training, and building miles and stuff. I mean, you were there. That was a hard emotionally and mentally a hard 4 weeks for me, because I was just like, this is Marine Corps all over again. I'm going to have to pull out of another marathon, because I wasn't going to go to Eugene just to run it for the sake of running it. That wasn't my plan.
Yeah. I remember I hate getting messages like that. It's like, wow, okay. You're just about to enter your peak training and then take one bad step and then.
Yeah, we were just about 10 weeks out when it happened.
Yeah.
So,
but to your credit, you did your best to stay positive throughout that experience. You cross-trained quite a bit. I remember you were getting on the bike, you were doing strength, doing what you could do. Yeah. And then, just trying to stay positive throughout the whole experience. I think we had to completely change your approach. I think we essentially eliminated doing any kind of speed work after that. I think we only had you running marathon pace as your fastest and just
like 10 below marathon
runs.
I think is as fast as we went, like 10 seconds below marathon pace I think is as fast as we went.
And then in terms of long runs, you didn't do much, but you were able to salvage it and put something together. I think you were running your longest runs ever at this point, because this was like your first true marathon build, right?
Absolutely.
And how do you remember how high we got you up to?
18 and a half was my longest run, and it was a total disaster. I ran slower than I wanted to. I fell apart the last 4 miles of the run, like totally fell apart. I think I slowed down by almost a minute a mile the last 4 or 5 miles of the run. And I was like, there's no way I'm finishing Eugene even remotely. If I finish, it'll be a miracle. There's no way I'm qualifying for Boston. I think I texted you that, and it was a bad day for me.
Yeah. Throughout all of this, I wasn't sure what, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what was going to happen. The thing with the marathon is, even in the best of cases, when someone's training goes perfectly, often there's still only like a 50-50 chance that they're going to run a great race, because the risk of bonking is so high in the marathon, like hitting the wall. Even experienced marathoners hit the wall so frequently. And some people are good at avoiding it. Other people, it hits them every time. You never really know, especially with a first time marathoner. But I just kept thinking like, all right, well, Josh has the speed. I know you have good racing mentality. You're good at pushing yourself. You're good at pacing yourself. If you want something bad enough, you can dig deep. So I was like, all you need to do is be able to cover the distance, not break down. And I think you'll be good. Yeah. What was your mindset as you were kind of heading into Eugene? Were you confident after the training cycle?
I wouldn't say confident. I just, the long runs, I think I had one good long run right before the last long run before Eugene. I didn't pace it very well. I was kind of all over the place, but my average ended up being right at like, I think a 652, 653. And I wasn't totally spent at the end of it, which I probably went harder than I needed to on that run, but I knew I needed one good solid long run mentally to go into it, because I can get in my own head sometimes. And I needed to nail my nutrition, because I was still all over the place with my nutrition, trying different things, because it's so much different from the bike. The bike, I do a lot of solids, and I can't do solids running. And then hydration on the bike, you can just drink whenever you want. You got bottles and you're not bouncing around. So kind of playing around with how much water to drink and in the intervals I knew they were going to be offered in Eugene and stuff. So that kind of all came together in that last run. So I had a little more confidence going into the last run, but I was still, I thought 3:05 was a long shot. I really did at that point. Just the pace I needed to hold and my longest run being 18 miles. It's just proportionately from like doing a 10-mile run to a half marathon. It's just not even close. So I was And then we had our Zoom meeting, which I think kind of made me feel a little better. We came up with a pretty good plan, which I've actually saved. I'm going to frame this because it ended up, I wrote down like some notes, and it ended up the race. I followed it. Like, I did my best to follow it because I'm not good at listening to coaching sometimes when it comes to racing. Like, I get there and I'm like, screw it. I know I can do this. I'm just going to go out at this pace. And I kind of toyed around with doing that because we had said go out with the 305 group, and then it'll feel slow at first and just see how you feel. And I'm like, I know I can go out with the 3 hour group. I'm just going to go out with the 3 hour group. And I was like back and forth at the starting line. Like, no, I'm going to listen to what Chris said. I'm going to go back. And I ended up going out with the 305 group, which was in hindsight, a very good decision.
I love that. So yeah, the marathon has so much, there's really so much more mystery in it before the race, really, than any other event. Like, so many parts come together in the marathon. Even in the best of training cycles, people doubt if they're going to be able to do what their goal is. And I know with your training cycle, because of your ankle injury, yeah, there was a lot of doubt, but let's go to the race. You're trying to figure out what pacing group to start with. We had this plan.
Yeah.
How did it go?
It went well. I think one thing that was really cool is the day before I did a 5K at the stadium, was part of this, like the same weekend of races. My girlfriend wanted to do it. So I was like, I decided I'll do it with her. We'll take it easy. And I actually think it was an awesome move because one, I saw the first couple miles of the race because the 5K went on almost the same route, except you take a right at one point and go back to the stadium instead of go out. So I saw in the first few miles of the race, like one of the hilliest parts of the race. So I had a good idea of what to expect the first couple miles, which ended up being, I think, helpful in the race. And then I saw the finish also because the last probably half mile of the 5K was the finish of the marathon. So I kind of knew what to expect on both sides, which was awesome. And I think getting there and going through the motions of finding a parking spot and all of that, just going through the race day motions the day before with no real consequences to it, like if you screwed up, was, I think, helpful for me. And then race day, it was perfect. It was like overcast. It was like mid to high 40s, misting / light rain. It was perfect conditions. The marathon there was very well run. I was lucky because being my first marathon, I could just give them a time and I didn't have to show proof. So I was in the A corral. So I think my chip time was 20 seconds off of the gun time. So I was in that first group, which was nice. And like you had said miles 1 through 10, just, it's going to be comfortable. It's going to feel slow. The race hasn't started yet. And yep. I was chit-chatting with guys that I was running with in the pace group. We would just kind of laugh and talk, and tons and tons of crowd participation. It was unbelievable how many people are out at this race.
Nice.
And then we kind of cruised through mile 10. I was feeling really good. Really good. It felt, the first 10 miles felt pedestrian, which is crazy to me to think of, because I think through mile 5, I was at like a 7:06 pace. And then by mile 10, I was down to about a 7 pace. And I was still with the pace group.
Yep.
We were about a minute and a half ahead of pace right around the half marathon mark. And that's when about 10 of us from the pace group started to slow down. And we just kind of held that pace, maybe picked it up slightly. Because even through mile 15, my average pace was still like 6:58. So it's not really a big increase in speed. And then that pace group, we started to drop guys one after another. And then we got to mile 19. It was me and one other kid left from California. And this was like his second or third marathon. Actually, backtrack. It was funny. At one point, I said to the group, I was like, I know this is my first marathon, but like, I feel like if we keep pushing this, we have a chance at getting close to 3 hours. And one of the guys, I'll never forget this. He kind of laughed. He said, yeah, he's like, yeah, if we can hold the pace, but we ain't going to hold the pace. So, and I was just like, okay, I've never done this before. I'm just going to go with it. So we drop him and it's just me and this other guy. And then, he finally says to me, he's like, you've got way more than me. Don't let me slow you down. Just go. Cause he was struggling kind of to stay at the pace. And that was about mile like 19. And then I got to mile 20. So your things, what you told me is 10 through 20. just confident commit, which I felt like I did with that group, leaving the pace group, going ahead, keeping the pace we were going, maybe picking it up a little bit. And then you told me at mile 20, if you feel good, just send it. And it's a 10K at that point. Yep. And I felt really good at mile 20. Like I felt better than I'd felt in any of my training runs. So I just absolutely let it fly. Nice. I think the next 3 miles were like 620, 623, 625. I started to feel it a little bit after like mile 23, 24, just because I picked the pace up so much, I think, probably faster than I needed to. And the only thing that bothered me, like I never had that moment, like everyone says, like the mile 20 is the halfway point of the marathon. And that's when everything starts to fall apart. And I never had that, like, why am I doing this moment? I just kept feeling good. And I basically made it a game, like, all right, I'm going to get to the next person. All right, call that person, going to get to the next person. I just did that. I didn't focus on miles or anything. I just kind of ran as fast as I could without feeling like I was going to blow up, and caught as many people as I could. And then you came like within a mile of the stadium, and it just was absolute bedlam. I mean, just the streets were lined on both sides because the half marathon and the marathon merged back up at that point. And you kind of ran together with them till you got onto Hayward Field, onto the track. And then like the inside 3 lanes is where the half marathoners went. The outside 3 lanes is where the marathoners went. So I'm running into the stadium, and there's probably 3,000 or 4,000 people in the stadium, just because all the families and friends and people who have just recently finished and stuff. There's this huge jumbotron you can see yourself on. There's an announcer. I mean, it's like a track meet at Hayward Field. Like, That's it was so crazy. Cool. It was such a cool experience. And it was one of the, like, both my half marathons, the wheels fell off like the last half mile. Like I really didn't finish strong. And this race, I didn't slow down. I think my last like 0.2 was the fastest of the whole race, speed wise for me. And I ended up running my last 10K in a 40-40, which prior to this, I would have been stoked with a 40-40 10K just as a regular standalone race. Yeah, I passed, when I looked at the results, I passed 59 because they had a mat at 20 miles and then the finish. I passed 59 people in the last 10K of the race.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it was wild. And then I knew I needed a buffer to break 3 hours because of tangents, and I was going to end up running longer because I set my watch to 3:05. So I knew I needed to be at like 6 minutes under that if I was going to have a chance at breaking 3 hours when I hit the track. And I was right about that. And I actually ran really well because I think my finish ended up being 26.35. So I really didn't run a whole lot further, at least from people I've talked to have run the marathon, and ended up closer to like 26.6.
That's so cool. So you got under 3 hours in your first marathon.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Big negative split, super fast last 10K. I mean, that's the way you just described how that race went is my picture for basically the perfect race. Like that's exactly what I try to coach people to. And that first 10 miles, stay comfortable, 10 to 20, be confident, commit to the goal of the day, get to mile 20, ready to compete and really let it rip.
Yeah.
It's hard to do in the marathon. It often doesn't work, but when it does, it's awesome. And you did an amazing job, Josh.
The worst part for me was in the last 6 miles, it was on like this river running path. It was paved, but it wasn't on the street. And there were a bunch of points where you kind of dip down, like kind of a semi-steep downhill, and then back up an uphill to go under a road or something. And those downhills were brutal on me. I'm not exactly I'm not your typical, I think, sub 3 hour marathoner as far as weight.
Yeah, you're a bigger guy.
I'm pushing 200 at 5'10". So I'm not exactly small. So the downhills those hurt a lot. The uphills I was super strong on, and I think that's because of all the hills I have to run around my area. But the downhills, I suffered on those. Even the just little like 100-meter downhills, I suffered.
Yeah, I remember the first marathon I ever did was a downhill race, and I thought it would be fast because it's downhill and gravity's working with you, but it can be fast unless you totally blow out your legs like I did. Yeah. And end up having to to walk and stop a bunch in the last 6 miles of the race. So yeah, downhills are tough. But it's good that you train where you train, because running over just rolly terrain as an everyday part of your training, not even really differentiating between, like, if you're running over a hilly route, it's just a normal route. It's like you're not like trying to avoid hills. They're just part of what you do. Is so good. I see a lot of people who do just like purely flat running. Maybe they're in a flat city or something like that. And I think running over the hilly terrain like that, it really helps you feel more prepared. I think those little downhills would have felt a lot worse. Even though Eugene is a mostly flat course, I think the little undulations would have felt a lot worse.
Like 70, I'd say 75% of the elevation in that race was in the first 8 miles.
Really?
I mean, all the climbing was in the first, because you basically go, I want to say it's north of the stadium for the first 8 or 9 miles. And then you kind of come back past the stadium and then you cross the river, and you're basically running along the river, and it's all pretty flat over there.
Yeah. So you pulled out like a massive performance. I mean, like you said, confidence was not the best going into this race, but I think you totally smashed it. I was super impressed. Where do you think that came from? How do you think that happened?
I don't know. I think I was well prepared as you could be with the injury. I mean, and I think, like I said, there were more than a few conversations between you and I where you had to talk me off the ledge leading into it. And I think your confidence in me was helpful. Like, you've done it before. This was new to me. I've never done it. Like, I mean, if I was going to run a 5K and trying to do something, like, I think I probably would have been overconfident, but it was just so much unknown.
Right.
And then I think the training, just the cumulative effect of the training, like, I kind of knew what it was like to run on garbage legs.
Yeah.
And I wasn't feeling that in the race, which I think the longer I went into the race and my legs still felt good, and I didn't have that like struggle bus feeling that I had on some of the long runs leading into it.
Yeah.
I think that just kept building my confidence. I'm like, throughout the race, it got more, my confidence got higher and higher as the race went on, as my legs didn't just totally, I was just waiting for that moment that every person I've talked to who's done the marathon says that they've had at some point. And it never came for me. And I'm sure it's going to catch up to me in one of my future marathons, but at least for this one, it never did. And I think that just kept building my confidence. Like, once I hit the 10K and that first mile, like mile 21, and it was like at 6:20, and it wasn't comfortable, but it wasn't like I wasn't buried. I knew I had a really legitimate chance of breaking 3 hours, and that just was all I needed to kind of suffer through the end.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's good to hear that you felt so fresh and good at the start of the race. It's always a really fine balancing act between doing the proper amount of training, but not overdoing it in training. Yeah. Like, you don't want to show up to your race, still tired from some massive long run you did 2 weeks beforehand or something like that.
Yeah.
That's one of the struggles I deal with as a coach. It's like trying to nail that balance, and, sometimes doing slightly less, honestly, is the right call.
I think for me too, where I tend to run harder than, like, even my easy runs are probably harder than they should be. And It's just, I don't know what it is with me. I just tend to run that pace. I think the lower volume actually probably helped me, because just the intensity that I was running my hard runs like that. I did 15 miles at like a 6:52 pace, like 2.5 weeks out from Eugene, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that probably the higher intensity, lower volume, at least for me, I think probably worked, especially with my build. And I think it probably saved me from any kind of bigger injuries. I mean, the ankle was kind of a freak thing, but I think the lower volume, if anything, probably helped me.
Yeah. Especially for your first marathon. I mean, one of the kind of guidelines with coaching is, it's like, you want to do just enough, or you want to give an athlete just enough to accomplish their goals, but they don't need to work harder than they need to accomplish them. So like with you, I knew you had the speed. Like, your 5K times, your mile times, 800, super fast. Like definitely say you can break 3 hours. It was purely just a matter of, can you run 26 miles? So, you know, someone in your shoes, Josh, like we only got you up to, I think, about 30 miles per week for the marathon, which for most people listening to this, I would say 30 miles is not enough to break 3, but some people can do it. But I knew that there was a good chance that you might be able to do that. And now, each season kind of builds upon itself. So you'll definitely get better if you start to do more, but as you train for your next marathon, we can build it gradually, Yeah. You don't need to necessarily just do like 60 miles a week or 70 miles a week in your first marathon just because you see that's what other people are doing. So
yeah, I'm
glad we got that balance right. And yeah, it's cool the way it all worked out in the end.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so happy with how it turned out. I mean, to go 5.5 minutes under a BQ on my first attempt and break 3, it's more than I would have been happy with the 3:05 in BQ, even if it didn't get me a number with the waterfall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? At the way the buildup went. So yeah, it couldn't have gone any better. And I don't think I could have run any faster. I think if I would have gone out faster, I would have for sure hit the wall.
Yeah. Yeah. I think you paced it perfectly. And yeah, I mean, working through the injury that you did develop, like it's running injuries are tough because, I think the toughest part about them is actually the mental side of it more than the physical side of it in most cases. Everyone I've ever coached through an injury has come out on the other side stronger and faster, except for the people who just gave up and quit. But you worked through it. It was a month of not really being able to run, probably kind of disappointing at times, but I mean, feeling good now. You made your goals. The other side was brighter. So
yeah, absolutely. I think it was a blessing. I mean, having that injury multiple times before, at least I knew exactly what I needed to do and what to expect. So I was able to, as soon as I could get the swelling under control, and a couple of days later, I was right into the physical therapy routine that I've done 3 or 4 times at this point. And then having the bike set up in my basement was huge. I mean, I think I was doing 125 miles a week for the last 2 weeks before we started working running back in. So it was definitely helpful.
Yeah. Was there anything about the training experience or maybe working with me as a coach that was surprising to you, like something you didn't expect as before you started training for this race that now you're like, oh, wow, that's pretty cool. Or I didn't think that was going to happen.
I don't know that's a tough question. It's super helpful. I think it's super helpful in the sense of just work as a firefighter. I mean, I work 24 hours on, 2 days off, 24 hours on, 4 days off, and we get held and you never know what the schedule is going to bring or if you're going to get sleep. So I think for me, the huge thing for me was if I had a terrible night at work, being able to pick up the phone and text or call you and be like, hey, I don't know if this 10-mile run today I'm going to get a lot out of it with my current energy level. How can we move things around to make it work so I can still hit my goals for the week, but not I'm a big fan of not doing bad miles. I like to call them. If I sleep 2 hours last night, going for a 10-mile run is not going to benefit me today. I don't think. Not all the time. It depends. I think in some situations, sometimes you're better off resting, but this is where I run into trouble trying to coach myself.
Yeah.
Because I need to sound off of somebody. And that's one thing that you were a huge help with is just either telling me suck it up, not in so many words, or I think you should listen to you. I think that's a good idea. You should back off today, or you feel great today, go harder today. I think that happened a couple of times where we had an easy day planned, but I saw my schedule coming up in the week and I felt good. So we'd swap things around and make it work. And that's the day-to-day stuff was bigger. It was huge for me.
Cool. That's helpful to hear. I get what you're saying. I feel like I get that a lot where it's really easy for me to just be like, yeah, do this, or we'll move things around like that and whatever. It's all going to be fine. And I think that, I've coached myself for a long time, and now my wife coaches me, and it's been super helpful to go back to having her write my training, because when you're trying to follow your own plan, you can have all this anxiety of like, I got to get this. I have this run to do today. I don't really want to do this run, but I feel like I should do this run. But if I don't do it, then what am I going to do? But,
and it can go the exact opposite way too. You could be like, I don't need to do this run today. I can switch it out with this next later. And coaching myself just has never worked. I coached for a while, like in high school, like when I was in college, I coached my old high school track team and stuff. And I could do that, but myself, it's just always been a disaster when I try and do it.
Yeah. I had this experience with like coaching myself for the past couple of years. Like I'd have this workout planned, and then it'd be like last minute, like, oh, I don't want to do that workout. I'll like do some different workout or whatever, because I have no one to hold myself accountable to.
Exactly.
And now that my wife's writing my training again, I'm like, okay, I actually got to do it the way that she wants me to. Cool. That's helpful to hear. So what's next for you and marathoning and training? What's your next goal?
I got a big summer. I'm going up to Bangor, Maine in the end of June to do a 84-ish mile bike race. I'm not racing it. I have a friend flying up from Florida, one of the people I met on that ride, who, when I go to Florida, I usually stay with him and his wife. And he's coming up, and we're going to go up for the weekend. It starts in Bangor and goes down to Castine. Yep. It's very coastal, and it's going to be a great ride. We're going to push it, but we're not racing by any means. And then after that, it's Falmouth. This will be my first shot at Falmouth. I'm working with a coworker. His son was born with spina bifida, and the Spina Bifida Association was huge help to him and his wife when they were going through a lot of stuff early on in Gabe's life. So he started working he volunteers on the board of directors, and they put a team in for Falmouth. So me, him, and two other friends we put a team together for the Spina Bifida Association. So we're going to fundraise together, and then we're all going to run our own races, but we're going to run for Gabe, which is Drew's son. And then after that, it's Marine Corps in October, which will be a lot of fun. I love DC. It's probably my favorite place to go in the US, at least. I go at least once a year. And then after that, hopefully, unless something crazy happens with the Boston entry stuff, I'll be at Boston in 24.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you think you're capable of doing in this event? You've run one marathon on minimal, iffy training, and it went well. What do you think you can do?
I don't think this may sound crazy, but I think I'm very capable of going in the 245 range if I really put my mind to it and can get in like a solid training block. I think I don't think that's out of the. I think it's a huge goal, but I don't think it's I don't think it's impossible by any means. Yeah,
awesome. I think it's possible too.
Yeah, so cool. We'll see. I think Marine Corps will be cool because I think that's a race. I mean, there's a lot of time between now and then, but I think that's a race where I could really I've already got my number for Boston for 24, so I could just really play around and try and send it in Marine Corps, see what happens, and then I could have both ends of the spectrum, go out hard, go out easy, and then kind of come up with a good plan for Boston in 24.
Totally. When you're chasing like a specific time or Boston Qualifier, there's often a lot of pressure to run a very specific time, and that really does affect your race plan. But if maybe Marine Corps, if there's more of just a loose plan or like a loose target pace, you can take a very different approach. Yeah, maybe just send it hard from the beginning, like you said, or do just more of a run by feel on the day or something like that. Exactly. But it'll be excited. I'm excited to see what you can do once you start to string together some more consistent months of good marathon training. But what you did for Eugene was really exciting, really encouraging.
Yeah.
And you did an awesome job kind of working through that, going through the process, getting your first introduction to what it's like to train for the marathon and how that's a little bit different than training for the shorter distances.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
I probably put more hours in 2 days than I did in a whole week training for the mile.
Anyway, it's gonna be good. I'm excited. Is for anyone who's listening to this, would you want anyone to follow you or reach out to you in any way?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely.
If they want to connect.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Find me on Instagram or Facebook. I'm on both of them. I don't know if I could even tell you my names on them, but I can get it to you.
Cool. I'll look it up and put it in the show notes.
But I'm always looking for people to run with, especially on this, like, hard days, speed work days. So, I mean, it'd be nice to not have to run by myself 90% of the time.
Yeah. And stay tuned. I haven't figured out what our next team race is going to be, but I like to.
Yeah, we just can't win. You had COVID for the 5K in Cambridge and missed out on that one, and that race was brutal. I think I came in 145th with a 17 flat 5K, which boggles my mind. But
it's the USATF New England Championship.
Yeah, it was crazy. I think the top 25.
Runners.
Yeah, the top 25 went sub 15, but that was bananas.
Yeah,
and then I couldn't do the harpoon race because I was working and couldn't get the day off. So yeah, we got to get one together.
We'll figure something out. I like to do a local race every few months or so and invite the local athletes, which is good. Cool. So yeah, I guess we can just wrap it up there then. Is there anything else that you'd like to add, Josh, before we go?
No, just thank you. Thanks for having me. Thanks for all the help for over the last 6 months, 7 months we've been working together now. It's been huge. And I'm really looking forward to what's to come. Not looking forward to the summer heat because I hate running in the heat, but the fall and spring is looking like it's going to be a lot of fun. So cool. A lot of work, but a lot of fun. So
I'll keep up the good work.
Thank you.
I'm looking forward to it as well.
Awesome, man. Thanks for having me.
All right. So that is the episode. Thanks so much for listening. What I love about Josh's story is he's a great example of both talent and hard work coming together to really accomplish huge goals. Josh is definitely a talented athlete. He broke 3 hours in the marathon, running only about 30 miles a week a couple of times. It took me about 80 miles per week for several months of training to be able to do what Josh did. But Josh is not just talented. He doesn't just rely on that. He's a hard worker as well, and he doesn't give up. He had a pretty tough training block. He had a really serious ankle injury about 6 weeks before his marathon, and he couldn't run for about a month. What I've seen so many times with running injuries is, yes, they can sideline us for a little bit, but if we keep working through them, overcoming them, and being patient with the whole process, we always come out stronger on the other side. The only people I've ever seen not be better on the backside of an injury are the people who just give up. And what I love about what Josh did here is he didn't throw in the towel when he rolled his ankle 6 weeks before his marathon. He figured out a plan to stay active, to rehabilitate his ankle as quickly as he could. And he worked with me as his coach to, stay motivated and keep an eye on Eugene as the marathon. We were able to work together to get him to run a little bit in the final few weeks before the race. Got a few long runs where he got some mileage under his feet again, and we developed a great strategy. And I tried to instill, the mindset of breaking 3 and what that takes into him before the race. He's a talented guy who worked hard, worked through injury, never gave up, and had a wonderful approach to running the marathon. He respected the distance. He understood the challenge that he had in front of him trying to break 3 in his first race, especially after a iffy training block. But he stuck to his plan. It went flawlessly, and that's why I wanted to bring him on the show. Hopefully listening to Josh's story will give you a little bit of inspiration as you train for your next race. And happy running out there. Before you go, I just want to mention 3 different ways that you can become a better runner today. And the first thing is make sure that you've gotten a copy of my book, Run Faster Marathons, The Proven Path to PR. It's available on Amazon in paperback and Kindle format, or if you go to my website and sign up for my newsletter on the homepage, KnightonRuns.com, I'll send you a free PDF ebook copy. The second thing I want to mention is the Knighton Runs training group now has a free trial. If you'd like to download the training plans that are based upon the content in my book and incorporate all the philosophies that we talked about on today's show, and I talk about always on the Knighton Runs podcast, you can get those plans for free by going to patreon.com/KnightonRuns. That's where you'll find the Knighton Runs training group, which is my group coaching program. You'll be able to download the training plans for 5K, base building, speed development, marathon, and really start to follow just a great plan that's going to get you towards your goals and ensure you're doing the right things at the right time. You can sign up with a free 7-day trial, which I'm really happy to now be able to offer. That way you can check out the plans, see if you want to follow them. And then what's great about joining the training group is you get plugged into my community where you can ask me and everyone in the community questions as your training goes on. So if you need to reschedule a run, or you're not sure how to do a workout, or you want to fit in a race but don't know when would be a good time to do that, you can ask those questions of me in the group, and the other athletes in there will chime in too and help you out. So when you join, not only do you get great training plans, but you also get a bit of coaching along the way. Check that out, patreon.com/KnightonRuns. And the third thing is, if you think you might want to work with me on a one-on-one basis, just like Josh and I do have a couple of spots open for one-on-one coaching for the right fit. So you can learn about how that works at KnightonRuns.com/coaching and apply on there if it seems like something you'd be interested in. You just fill out a short form and then set up a time to chat with me on Zoom, and we can see if we'd make a good team. All right. Hope your running is going well and enjoy it out there. It's heating up. Summer's getting started. Bye.